Hello and welcome back to Bookish. It's Tag Tuesday, and so I have another tag video for you here. This tag was created by Christy Luis over at the Channel Dostoevsky In Space, and it is a really great tag with some unusual and different questions, which is, at this point in my booktube career, always welcome. This is called the Brandon Sanderson Tag, named after the author Brandon Sanderson, who Christy is a big fan of, and who I have to tell you, I've never read a single book by Brandon Sanderson. Which is, definitely on me and not on anybody else. But she tagged me, and that was very nice, and the questions I thought were really interesting. So I'm going to make sure I read the whole text of the question because Christy put a lot of effort into making these tag and making it thoughtful and coming up with original questions, and that deserves the question to be read. So I'm going to read them off my phone and then give my answers. Also, since I do a tag every Tuesday, since, well, apparently I started this, I intentionally tried to pick books to meet the tag prompts, which I don't or haven't talked about. Not always successful here, but I wanted to be able to do that to maybe make this tag a little bit different from the 7 million other tag videos I've done. So here we go. Question number one. Remember, this is the Brandon Sanderson tag. Prompt or question number one. Brandon wrote many early novels while working as a night clerk at a Provo hotel. What book kept you reading late into the night? Well, for that, I chose Special Topics in Calamity Physics by Marisha Pessl. This is kind of a campus novel involving, as most campus novels do, I think, a somewhat out-of-place student who goes to a fairly snooty different school and finds, mystery and intrigue there. And I remember being really propelled into reading this book and staying up late reading it. And I liked it, even though I have to tell you I was a little bit disappointed with the conclusion. But this would be a book that I stayed up late reading, and I don't think I've ever actually mentioned this book on my channel before. Prompt number two. Brandon's complex magic system sets his fantasy apart. What subject do you love to read about in all of its complexity? I went here with abstract expressionist art. One of the projects I did, an independent study I did, was about American abstract expressionist artists, and I got kind of into all that and all the different kinds of painting and the automatic painting and the drip painting and all kinds of stuff like that. And I will tell you that abstract expressionist art is still some of my favorite. Occasionally on my hodgepodge videos, I put examples of abstract expressionist art, or kind of the picture I put over there, because oftentimes it's just a mix of colors and shapes, which seems kind of hodgepodgey. But I did study this. I did read quite a lot about it, and I enjoyed doing that. So that would be my answer to prompt number two. Prompt number three. Brandon gets book ideas from watching other storytellers fail to execute a concept well. He figures out how to do it better. What two books handle the same concept in strikingly different ways, and which do you prefer? Okay, so for that, those two books are Reunion by Alan Lightman. And by the way, I know this is the first time I think I mentioned this book here, and I'll mention Alan Lightman's other book that I've read here too. But Alan Lightman's Reunion and Octavia E. Butler's Kindred both deal with the concept of time travel without, time travel without any kind of machinery or any kind of science involved. This one to go back in terms of a lost love, and this one to save essentially family and explore the situation or the truth about slavery in the United States. I vastly preferred Octavia E. Butler's Kindred to Alan Lightman's Reunion, but both deal with the concept of time travel. So I think that answers that prompt pretty well. Prompt number four. Child Brandon was recommended several books about dogs that die. As a result, he became a reluctant reader. Please share a formative, good or bad childhood reading experience. So I'm going to share both. A good childhood reading experience would be this thing, which I'm sure no longer exists anymore, but if you're of my generation of students, then you might remember it. And we're called SRAs, and it was this kind of cardboard box filled with these like 4-page kind of cardstock glossy reading things, and they came in all different reading levels, and they were on all kinds of subjects. Most of the subjects were nonfiction things, so I read all of those, and it was really rewarding because the top levels were silver and gold, and those were supposedly the most complex of the things to read, and I read through all of those. And so, being a little nerd kid, it felt good to kind of get to the gold level on those, and that was rewarding. And then a negative experience, which her prompt about Brandon Sanderson having bad experience about books about dead dogs. I would go with The Red Pony by John Steinbeck, in which, well, it's not a dog, but a pony dies, and the kid finds out in a really gruesome, horrible way, and that really scarred me for a long time as a reader. Really negative experience. Prompt number 5, Brandon and several friends host Writing Excuses podcasts, and they frequently invite guests. Please tell about a collaborative fiction project and what you thought of it. This was really hard for me. The only collaborative fiction project I could think of that I read were the Nanny Diaries, which were written, co-authored by Emma McLaughlin and Nicola Krauss. It was made into a movie, so you might know it from there. And I don't know exactly how two people work together to write a work of fiction, probably because I'm too egomaniacal to think about sharing my ideas or letting other people's ideas infringe on mine. But that would be my one example. And, it was entertaining. That's what I would say about it. It was an entertaining book. I think I saw part of the movie, and I thought the book was much better than the movie. Prompt 6. Brandon's first book, White Sand Prime, was rewritten and eventually converted into a graphic novel called White Sands. What book would you like to see in another format? I'm going to go with J.R.R. Tolkien's The Silmarillion, and I would like to see this as a graphic novel, because then I might understand it all better. So there you go, J.R.R. Tolkien's The Silmarillion would be my choice there. Prompt 7. Brandon writes very quickly. What prolific author or authors would you recommend? And this would be an author I mention pretty much all the time, but that would definitely be Elmore Leonard. Elmore Leonard was a great prose stylist, and he knew how to construct a plot and create memorable characters and write great stories. And I plan, to read a lot more Elmore Leonard. I think he probably published something, I want to guess, around 50 books in his lifetime. Some westerns, some crime stories, some about set in and around Hollywood. Just, really prolific, and I just think he was a great writer. Prompt number 8. Brandon's Cosmere Universe books are grounded in Platonic philosophy. What book or series gets you really excited about the source material? So this would be me mentioning Alan Lightman's other book, and that's Einstein's Dreams. And I have actually done this because I liked this book a lot. It's kind of a fictionalized account of Einstein and how he thought of all his ideas. And I like the cover, and I like how small it is. And I just like the way it looks. But I also like the story. And this book got me interested in reading about physics. Which, I do occasionally read a book about physics and mathematics, about one a year, and that's really interesting. And so I got interested in physics, and particularly kind of quantum physics, by reading Einstein's Dreams, which is a novel by Alan Lightman. Prompt number 9. Brandon loves to show multiple sides of every issue and to contrast character values. Please share a book that handles controversy well. Well, I'm just going to go with a history book, and I'm not sure this is exactly what Christy envisioned for this, but I'm going to go with Destiny of the Republic by Candace Ballard, which is essentially the story of the assassination of President Garfield and the controversy surrounding his medical treatment. And I thought she did a good job of both showing the foolishness of the doctors who were in charge and explaining why they might have felt that way, and painting a really compelling portrait of President Garfield, and also making Chester A. Arthur, one of the least known presidents of the United States, look good at least for a moment. I thought this dealt with that controversy well, and kind of a topic which may not be controversial today, but certainly in its day it was really controversial. So that was my answer to prompt number 9. And prompt number 10, Brandon Sanderson is a writing teacher, and unlike some writing teacher, he posts his lectures online for free. What free literature resource are you grateful for? And this comes up for me every ShakeTube, every September, and that's the Folger Shakespeare Library, which I'll try to leave a link to down below. I believe they might have changed the name recently, but it essentially has, as far as I know, it has all the sonnets and all the plays of Shakespeare. I'm not sure if it has his prose poems. It may not have all the works there, but you can access it for free, and you can read all the plays. And they're formatted in a way, it's difficult for me to read off the screen, but they're formatted in a way which is really helpful, and it's free. So there you go. And then the final thing, I assume, is that we should tag people. And so I'm going to actually tag some people. I want to tag Mark Nash to do this tag. I want to tag Will from the Book Barrel. I want to tag Wendy from Book Nerd TV. I also want to tag Alan Mahan from Big Hard Books and Classics, and then James Holder, because I know James reads a lot of fantasy and some science fiction, and I think it might be interesting to see his ideas here. And then finally, oh yeah, Deanie from the channel, the same name, because Deanie had been doing a really great science fiction short story series on her channel, and so I assume she's read some Brandon Sanderson, or is at least more aware of him than I am, and so maybe we get a video out of her about this. Anyway, there you go. There's my answers to the Brandon Sanderson tag. Thanks again to Christy for tagging me. Really good questions and prompts. And I'll leave a link to her original tag down below. And if I didn't tag you and you want to do this, you can do it, because it is a tag that is worthy of being done by lots of people. Anyway, thanks for watching.